What do all of these things have in common?
Riding a bike, paddling through the ocean, finding your way through a narrow street, ringing a bell, playing the guitar, and dancing like there's no tomorrow.
They all require your brain. But how is it that this jelly-looking thing even works? Why can it do things that this, or this, or this, or this simply cannot? Just think about it for a second. Even though they all fit in the palm of your hand, only one of them makes you, well, you. Let's start by zooming in to see what makes a brain tick. We have to start from the ground up with the fundamental building blocks that together make a brain. That, of course, would be a brain cell, or a neuron. The same way a tree contains a trunk, roots, and branches that soak up the sunlight, a neuron contains a main body, called the soma, and similar branches on both ends of the soma. These here are called dendrites. They receive signals from neighboring neurons, while these other branches are called axons. Axons send signals to other neurons. These three components are the basic architecture of a neuron. For the rest of the video, we'll focus on just how one neuron works. So why is a neuron special anyway? Let's go back to our diagram. A neuron is special because it's capable of talking to its neighboring neurons at speeds we can hardly imagine. In just 1 second, a neuron can fire 1,000 times to send information to its neighboring neurons. Just try clapping that much in 1 second just to get an idea of how huge that number actually is. But what do we mean when we say a neuron fires or talks? In reality, the language of the brain is electricity and chemistry. A neuron communicates with other neurons through a rapid back and forth of electrical and chemical signals. These signals excite a neuron enough for it to fire information, like a baton pass, to other neurons. Let's dig a little deeper. At the very tips of a neuron are these axons we mentioned earlier. Axons actually contain messengers within them called neurotransmitters. These messengers transmit information to other neurons by running across the space between two neurons. This space is called a synapse. These are the chemical signals we referred to before. But first, something has to prompt the neurotransmitters to be released. Neurons are surrounded by an ocean of molecules, some of which are capable of getting into the neuron by means of receptors. What activates these receptors? You guessed it, neurotransmitters. When a neurotransmitter binds to its proper receptor, like a key fitting into a lock, the receptor can open up and let in molecules that charge up a cell until it finally fires. These are the electrical signals we referred to before. When the cell fires, it releases neurotransmitter from the tips of the axons. These neurotransmitters then run across the synapse and bind onto more receptors on the dendrites of adjacent neurons, thus continuing the chain of transmitting information, like batons being passed from person to person. Keep in mind that we focused on just one neuron so far. Take a moment to let this remarkable fact settle in, however. Your brain consists of 100 billion of these neurons branching out, talking to each other, relaying information back and forth, all to make everything you've ever done possible. 100 billion brain cells firing in certain patterns and releasing chemical cocktails. This is how the brain produces the mind. 100 billion is about how many stars there actually are in our galaxy, and yet this number of brain cells manages to fit nicely tucked behind your eyes. Who you are and how you interact with the world is made possible by neurons. This is the stuff that the mind is made of.